You might have noticed a change in your neighborhood lately. Yep, Sprint stores are now T-Mobile stores. Now that Sprint is T-Mobile, you get more coverage, value, and benefits than ever before. We've invested billions to bring our 5G from big cities to small towns across America. And great coverage is just the start. From high-speed mobile hotspot data to weekly deals and giveaways, our customers get tons of great benefits. Head to your new T-Mobile store to learn more.
Qualifying service and capable device required. Coverage not available in some areas. Some uses may require certain plan or features. See T-Mobile.com.
Hi, this is Natalie Lander, voice of Kinsey, Tara Branford, Stargirl, and many others. You are listening to a W2Mnet podcast. You can visit W2Mnet.com for other podcasts about entertainment, video games, sports, and wrestling.
Here we go, a special edition of Soccer to the Max as we break down and just discuss 0-0 draw between El Salvador and the U.S. men's national team in Kutsaklán. Well, it's the first game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's understandable that you're going to have, especially with a team this young, most of this team has no experience at all with World Cup qualifying. We knew before the match started that Chris Belushi was not going to play at all. So that was a factor. But we knew that going in. I feel like Zach Steffen, that Matt Turner was the correct goalkeeper anyway. He's the one that's heavily informed out of the three. So that necessarily wasn't a huge loss, at least for this game anyway. Eric, let's look at this through the spectrum of what we do here at Soccer to the Max. For you, what is your first headline? You look at this in general. What stands out to you?
My biggest headline from all this, at least we didn't lose. Starting off the last round of the 2014 cycle, the 2018 cycle, we started out with losses. Here we are with a draw. Now, granted, could we have won? Should we have won? Yes, but there's a lot going on to really work. My two biggest takeaways are the number 9 still isn't fully settled, and we need to sharpen up in the final third, because attacking at times, it was okay, but for large stretches of the match, it just seemed listless.
I think listless is a fantastic word on that end of just, there was no connection. Obviously, again, like Pulisic is such a dynamic player. He's such an important figure, perhaps sometimes getting things going as being that galvanizing guy. He also kind of gets the rest of the players, especially in attack, pushing forward, moving. He's that guy, your talisman guy, that when you need someone to make something happen, you know you can count on him. You know you can. He is that one player, especially in CONCACAF, that people are going to fear, that you have to worry about what he does on the pitch. And so you remove him. And yes, the U.S. men's national team has plenty of other class players that play in big leagues, all throughout the spine of that squad. And that's important and that's great. And we saw that here. But we saw also how there was just a disconnect. A large part of this match, there was just, I don't understand. I mean, I don't know that you picked the best front three particularly, but this is the problem you're going to have, I think, this 3-game cycle that you're going to have various times throughout this. You're not going to be able to always have your best players on the field all the time. Why? Because you're playing 3 games as a really short span. You got to manage these players.
Yeah, you got 3 games and you're traveling back and forth in the span of a week. And I get that. And I know Berhalter really played it as such. But one thing I note, and I kind of mentioned the formation. Yeah, you have your core 4-3, but without Pulisic, you instead of having that number 10 pushing forward everything into attack, like you said, we now use more of a number 8 and having that with every defense. And that's great. But one thing with El Salvador, yeah, you had moments to where you could get some things in. But when you got closer to the box, El Salvador just dropped numbers. And it was all a concept of, okay, work outside from the edge of the 8 and going in. And there was just no motivation to break down that level of compaction.
There was no creativity. There was no let's put a dink in here. Let's do something. Like almost everything again. It was set pieces. You had that one chance by Acosta that went off the bar. I mean, that was the closest thing they had. McKinney had that one that went over as well. But it's like there was nothing that makes you go, oh man, I mean, yes, there's missed chances. El Salvador had a few as well, most of those offset pieces as well. A lot less than the U.S. They had one shot on goal. U.S. only had two. That's not really telling you a whole much. I mean, Matt Turner had that one save where he had to go down for, and then a couple that went over, but nothing that I think really you had that troubled. He did well, doing exactly what you asked him to do. I don't think he did anything that makes you go, oh, well, we don't need to start him in the next match against Canada. But I don't know if he's going to try to rotate. Honestly, it's between Stefan and Matt Turner. If you really want to rotate one of these guys, honestly, I would leave Matt Turner in. All three could, just to have that consistency back there. But defense, they were fine. And I didn't worry about the defensive. Not that El Salvador has this like wonderful attacking talent that I feel like are completely threatening, but we have seen them score goals. We saw Rivas do it twice in the span of 3 minutes against Qatar. We've seen them. They were very much up to it against Mexico as well. The goalkeeper was made some good saves, but he didn't, it wasn't like standing on his head like he was against Mexico. There was nothing that made me, again, there was no like big shot, big moment that you go, oh my God, that was the one that got away. And that, I think that's the major problem in what you alluded to. The number 9 position was not staked in the game. I thought Josh Sargent looked okay at times. I don't know that Conrad de la Fuente works best as a part of a 3 there. Gio Reyna, I thought, was also looked pretty decent at times, bombing up that left side, and he did provide some passes into the box and everything. Tyler Adams was terrific in just being very tenacious, very motivated. He was very good in defense, but we didn't see those like killer balls going in, making El Salvador have to worry about what the heck's going on. That, I think, I saw a lot of what we saw in the Mexico game in the Gold Cup. A lot of, we had the ball, we lose. We had the ball, it's there, no consistency. It's like they make a couple of passes and then it's gone again. Credit to El Salvador, right? Like you said. Yeah. They put people back when they needed to, everything else. Hugo Perez I think that's the one thing I think people don't give Hugo Perez enough credit for what he's done with El Salvador, being a former U.S. international, being a terrific player himself, being able to come and take some of these U.S. international players, right, and bring them into Christian Rodon's brother, Alex Rodon, which I thought was one of the best players El Salvador had. Zabaleta was good as well. He's another international that's brought over. I mean, looking at this, Eric, I mean, that's another headline for me is just you need to figure out your midfield and what you want to do. I feel like you understand Tyler Adams, right? That's Tyler Adams. That's his spot. If you want to play the double pivot with Kellen Acosta, perhaps that's something you do in the Canada game where you have much stronger, much more talented players up front that you need to worry about. Maybe we'll see that, having them both up there. McKinney is fine up front there, and if you want to put him on the top of a diamond or a kind of a free roaming role there, I don't know that Aronson, that was his best spot there. No, and like I would have thought you would have put him up front instead of having Conrad up there.
And this was the thing. I mean, even with someone like Aronson, even if you were to go to like a flat 3 midfield, that would allow a little bit of that roaming at times instead of that triangle. That would have been just fine. You had too much of an overemphasis of really trying to have people there to play out from the back.
Yeah.
That
was definitely.
Oh, yeah. Our best presence was when those few times we had those balls bombing forward. And especially after Canada's performance on Honduras tonight, that's something we're going to need.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think either one of those squads are convincing. We'll get into that later. We go around CONCACAF. Just to start out, I mean, Mexico got what you thought would happen with the U.S. because they've been doing that for a while. At least that was the theme of the Gold Cup, of getting those late goals. And Mexico was the one that got it in the 89th minute to lead the octagonal right now, barely pushing by Jamaica, who was missing some big players as well. Mexico as well, obviously. Some of their star players. Definitely Mexico should be happy about getting the 3 points. The only squad in the entire octagonal to get the 3 points. Everybody else had a draw. again, we'll go more into those games a little bit later, but staying focused on this one. I mean, I mentioned, I think, some of them, but looking at, I guess, players that you definitely feel like, okay, they definitely need to keep their spot in the team. Maybe, again, not everybody's going to start the same games because you got to rotate players 3 games, days. Well, who do you think you really feel like, okay, we definitely need to see more of this player? Or
what I'm going to focus on, and this was a mention on the post show, and I want to get into it a little bit, Serginho Dest. Because if you're looking at the guys who big-time European club players,
right.
but not a lot of CONCACAF experience, not really the tips, the tricks, really what to expect. I thought he had a decent, really, inauguration into CONCACAF World Cup qualifying, but I want to see him kind of, I guess, not rely so much on the tricks and leave himself vulnerable to taking a lot of hits and getting a lot of fouls, but at the same time, using that presence to kind of push forward and create transition, especially if you know it's a tense, tight game in those later minutes. I think if he did a little bit of what we see from him more from Barcelona, could have created 1 or 2 chances. What we would have done with them, question mark. But I would have loved just that little extra.
Yeah, that's the thing that we see him a lot with Barcelona. Normally we see him go forward. Sometimes he's more as a wing back than a defender. Barcelona play with usually a flat forward, so he'll go forward just like you see Jordi Alba on the other side go forward. You didn't see that much here. And again, like you said, he's relying more on the tricks. Then you got to understand which teams you can do that against.
Yes.
Right? When you're in El Salvador, against El Salvador, that's probably not the best place. When you're at home against El Salvador, maybe at home against Canada.
Oh, yeah.
I really don't want to see him try to do that against in San Pedro Sula because he's going to get smacked by Minor Figueroa or somebody. It's been mentioned he's waiting for that moment where he's going to get knocked down for that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to be creative. You should just get the ball forward and go. Just go. Use that pace that you have.
Time and approach, keeping it simple.
That's what we need. Is Berhalter needs to think about. There wasn't this possession in this game. There wasn't this domination of the ball. There wasn't. It was very 50-50. It was very an El Salvador squad that was never afraid of the U.S. at all. They grew into the game in the second half. They dominated a lot of that. It was a lot of.
I think the final possession was right around 50-50, 51-49, thereabouts.
The U.S. got both the big yellow cards in this game. DeAndre Yedlin got one, and it's just like Acosta could have got one for the big elbow gave. I can't remember the player at this moment.
Was Larin, if I remember right?
It may have been Larin, but he also did a little bit of the John O'Shea from the Portugal. You got hit in the arm. Why do you need to go for the face?
The dark arts of CONCACAF. Which refs you can manipulate. I mean,
it's the dark arts of football in general. Of just we're gonna try to make this a bigger deal than it. I'm sure that was not the sweetest of touches or anything for Larin, but don't need to make a total meal out of it.
No.
I will say the team looked a lot better once they brought in the substitutes. It was a bit more lively. You had Acosta come in. You had Anthony Robinson come in. First, I thought he pushed them a bit more forward. And then P-Folk, when he comes in, they looked a lot better. He was holding the ball up more. He was, taking that chance. He played in McKinney on that one that they had the opportunity that led to the Acosta chance. That's the thing that I want to see. I want to see more of. That's the thing that you feel like you should see from a team that has these class players, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, okay, even though it ended up in a board draw, show a little something. And you mentioned it perfectly with the P-Folk. All of a sudden he comes and it's like, okay, you're going down the middle of it. You're crowding. You're getting more crisp passing.
They're pressing more.
Chances and pressing. Exactly. And it's like, okay, you're doing all of these things, forcing even better chances on corners. Would have been better for the whole 90 minutes, but at least you gave yourself a chance to come up with a winner.
I hope that Berhalter keeps tinkering a bit more with this. Necessarily, doesn't just stick with, okay, this is my formation. This work. Like, hopefully we see a little bit more of the tinkering. Like, I really would have loved to see them eventually go to like a 3 at the back and try to push a bit more forward to get like, hey, you got 10 minutes. You got 15 minutes. Like, especially when you're going to bring on Leggett and Roldan and you took out one of your defenders, get it going at that point and try to really, I mean, they did at times, but that's what I will give El Salvador a lot of credit. I felt like there was always this sense of they had the right person in the right spot
They did
at the correct time. And it wasn't like we got lucky. It was, they were well positioned, well organized. El Salvador is a team I feel like you need to worry about when you're talking about they definitely could be a third or fourth running. They could give Canada a run for their money there in third, or definitely be making that push for the continental playoff place. It's
absolutely. Because, I mean, when you get to the point, and you had mentioned with the position, even though, especially the last 10 minutes they were like, okay, we don't necessarily have to threaten. Mm-hmm. We're going to still make the U.S. think. And I noticed we started chasing the ball a bit more, it more, closing down a little bit too much. And it's like, okay, if you've got this against El Salvador, that's one. They weren't going to, although honestly, I think they should have tried to get themselves a miracle chance for a goal. You go against someone else doing that, you are quick to get burned.
I mean, like, that's the thing is what's important here is they didn't lose. You said at the beginning, they got to draw away in a tough place to play. I mean, the El Salvador crowd was very much into this game. Every time they did something, it was a roar like you would be watching, a club game. They were absolutely into this, and I really love that environment of just feeling like you really had that team against you. It must have been so loud for them to try to talk to each other and communicate. Perhaps that's part of the reason, there was some lacking in the final third as well. Communication is difficult when that environment is so loud after you've played all these friendlies and everything with no crowd or anything during the pandemic, or you haven't played in some time period. I think it's very important to look at that aspect of you now have a feeling of what it's like to go to enemy territory in a place where the crowd is there and they are into this at any moment of whatever El Salvador is doing. Anytime there was a foul or where they thought there was going to be a foul, it was this absolute going for it from the El Salvador crowd. I love that too.
And lest we forget, it was like fireworks or all kinds of like a popping and stuff from the crowd. That whole first 10 minutes. They were
throwing stuff at as you would expect when they would do the corner. You now have a little bit more experience. That's important too. You didn't lose. You stood firm. You never let El Salvador really. They grew into the game, yes, but I never at one moment felt I needed to be afraid about losing. Or, I mean, it helps when they really didn't have much going in the final third themselves either. There wasn't anything that really was dangerous for Matt Turner at all either on that front. So it was really, I think you mentioned it in the chat, at times it was very blah.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, from the aspect of, okay, in a week's time, we've got to head down to San Pedro Sula. Okay, this was a warm-up for that level of atmosphere. But at the same time, it's like, now you've got to be on your game. And it's like, hey, you started out with this draw, but now if you're in a position to where you've been around to this sort of a crowd, you know how it goes. If you've got a chance to clean up and go ahead and win, go get it.
Yeah, definitely. That's the killer instinct that you need to have. Whether it is to go and put two up front in that last 10 minutes or so, get a bit more pragmatic and just start. Let's go. Don't worry about, I got to have the pretty formation with 3 players up front and all that stuff. Look, put your 2 best strikers up there and let's go. That's why I really hope if you want to look at something for me, I think that's a topic, something we need to get into. We're done with this game. We can take what we want out of it. There was some disappointment in that you feel like you should have got 3 points, but you didn't lose. So that's a positive as well. Now you go into this Canada game at home in Nashville. You feel like you should this is a formidable team in Canada. This is not the old Canadas of the past that you feel like you should definitely be better than. Both teams have class players, but you're at home. You definitely need to win your home games. You need to look at what perhaps could be your best strike partnership or your best chance to score goals. And for me, I thought P-Folk looked the best out of the strikers put up there. I feel like you need to be a bit more, or just maybe even think about, if you're not going to play the 2 up front, maybe play the 1 up front and just have. I think this is something that helps with Pulisic coming back. Again, he puts that fear, that dynamism back into the team of now Canada, and they don't have the best defender.
They really don't. And
to have to think about him. And then you pair him, whether it's Folk or Ricardo Pepi. I really hope he gets a look at in that game. I think that's the best chance you have to play. He's still young. You don't want to get him too nervous going to Honduras and all that. I feel like the Canada game is a spot for him too.
Yeah, make it more friendly confine. He already knows like a little bit about it. Just kind of ease him into things. And even with the Pulisic, nothing wrong with, even if you're going back to a 4-4-2, nothing. Because you have the more of a freedom, especially going out wide, if you're still going to rely on those crosses. And then, say you've got a good lead, things that are in the bag, okay, you make a switch and you can finish out in a 4-1-4-1.
Yeah, you can play with that more when I just want to see a little bit more up front, a little bit more like let's creative and let's try to figure out something that may work. You know what you have kind of very well. So you kind of know, okay, if you're going to bring in John Anthony Brooks in the back or play him with Team Ream, or you're going to play him with Miles Robinson, and then, you kind of know whether you're going to play Anthony Robinson instead of Gino Des for one game. I feel like DeAndre Yedlin is best in that right back role, but if you want to play someone else there, you can certainly. I think it's more about, what do you do? I really feel like take that chance with the double pivot of Kellen Acosta and Tyler Adams. Have 2 guys, one that could move up forward, right, if you need to be that glue in between of, okay, well, maybe you need to go back a little bit, have one go back a little bit more, have one go forward a little bit more, and then you have McKinney there and go with whoever, whether and P-Folk or Pulisic and Pepi. That's just to create that. Just at all times you have to worry about playing. Whether you want to put Reyna up there, with someone. I think you kind of know what the core of this team is. You're still trying to figure out what are the best pieces to put in place.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's one of those things to where, all right, you have the players, and it's about, as you just said, getting to the right place. But it's like, if you know what you're dealing with player-wise, shape your system around, like you say, that double pivot, even with the Pulisic up front, like that inverted, and if you're going to stick with, if you're going to maybe switch to a 3 at the back, you could go a 3-4-1-2. That way you still have that little bit of width, but you can focus. What that mean, pushing forward, you're getting numbers up much easier. It's a lot to figure out. Knowing Berhalter, I trust him to do better in figuring it out quickly, but in the end, we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know that he's going to mess with it too much, but like I said, I do hope he gives some players a chance, especially up front. Now that you saw some good things, but you didn't see anything, fluid, going, man, I really love this attack. You didn't see anything there. So try to move some of those pieces and bring some other folks in and give them a chance to see if they can show you something that you didn't see from Sargent, De La Fuente, McKinney, and that front line that you got there. Change it up a little bit, and let's see what we get with the Canada game, especially, again, trying to take advantage of the fact that Canada doesn't have these necessarily stout defenders that maybe you can take advantage more. They have a lot. They have Alphonso Davies you got to worry about, and they have a lot going in attack, but they're not this like stout defensive team. So
exactly set up to where instead of going for a 0-0, prepare.
No, you cannot do that at home. You cannot go for that.
Prepare for a lot of goals. See what you can in getting that win.
Yeah, exactly, and take advantage of that winner, like we saw in most of the Gold Cup. Now, there are other teams that are playing CONCACAF. Let's talk about those for a little bit here. again, I mentioned Mexico got the late winner against Jamaica, but Jamaica did pull one back after Mexico had scored originally. And that game was close all throughout. So good to see Jamaica and Mexico, even though both were missing some players that you really want to see be playing for those squads. That was a rough game for both teams there. Costa Rica and Panama, I feel like you're talking about the two bottom teams. It's weird to say. It's weird to say, right? For so long, it's been Costa Rica, Panama. Those are two of the teams you got to worry about when it comes to CONCACAF qualifying. They have not looked convinced for a while now.
No, we've seen a little bit of the downfall of Los Ticos when you got to the Final Four of the league. So I am not terribly surprised. I mean, for their sake, I hope this is one of those phases to where, you're out of that golden generation building. But to see them potentially, now again, 1 out of 14, but as you said, the bottom feeders and at least not pushing for that intercontinental playoff spot.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, going to be interesting when you get to play them because I have not been on either lately at all. Canada and Honduras played a tight one as well. 2 penalties. That's the 2 goals for Canada and Honduras. So really, Jamaica and Mexico were the only 2 teams to score from open play in the entirety of CONCACAF round 1 because you had 2 0-0s and you had 2 penalty games. Between Canada and Honduras. Honduras getting that vital point going away to Canada to BMO Field and sneaking a point away from Canada, one that I'm sure Canada would like to have back because now, again, just like the U.S., you're in a position where even though you're going to the United States, you feel like that pressure's on to either get another draw or get those 3 points as well. So that's going to make that game on Sunday very much super interesting. So
just like for everybody on like a Twitch and watching us live, yes, Robert and Randy, as you're saying,
see, Randy's sitting there making comments about your wonderful camera now that you have.
Well, I gotta thank you for that, hooking me up, making me look better.
Yeah, see, but that's the point. We want to this show the professionals, so that's what we're trying to do. Of course, if you don't know, Randy and Robert have their own great show on Tuesdays. You can go listen on the radio or watch on StreamYard or watch streaming. We'll have to give a link to Randy at least on his Twitter or whatnot. So you can
Facebook and YouTube are our sports report, just like us. So no, we're not going to stay off your pitch. You just have to deal.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes it's going to happen. You're going to have times where you go against each other on one night. You have to do the AEW and WWE battle. What's better at that point? But yeah, so I mean, for me right now, none of the teams look way better than the others.
No,
at this point, maybe if Mexico gets to bring Jimenez and Chucky Lozano, Tecatito, and all that in one squad, perhaps we're looking at much better odds for Mexico and being able to. What we're used to seeing. But again, we're talking about CONCACAF is always tough thing. We saw this, if you watch some of the post game, Kate Abdo tried to play that up of like, well, this is still El Salvador, the U.S. should, and it whooped them or whatever. It's like, you don't realize when you go down to El Salvador with that, again, like I mentioned, that crowd, the way it is, that is a tough place to go and play. And with an experienced squad like what the U.S. brought out.
Yeah, and something like with this in San Salvador, even some of our best of the best, they've had it and they've struggled. That is just how it is. And you mentioned it perfectly with parity. We probably won't really know what's going on or how the table's going to be shaping up even at the end of this treble header. I mean, Mexico could have another fluke result. Yes, with U.S. and Canada and all that. It's like, yeah, home, away, you're not like having this huge gulf, U.S. and Mexico, Costa Rica, and everybody else. It's just now you have a lot of these other countries catching up.
That's the thing that's going to be interesting when you go into these second round of games. What are we going to see anything different from any of these teams in those fixtures as far as CONCACAF goes? I mean, we talk about the U.S. Canada, but anyway, so I mean, Jamaica, Panama. For Jamaica, there you saw them look sharp against Mexico. I wonder if that should be one where you're thinking that should be El
Easily.
Salvador, Honduras. That's always a tough game. It's always you talk about getting those tackles and getting the challenges in.
That one is gonna be nasty.
Yes.
Nasty.
Yeah, and all these games are on Sunday, by the way. So, and if you have Paramount Plus, you can actually watch all of them. So, Panama, Jamaica's first at 6, then El Salvador, Honduras, and Costa Rica, Mexico. Costa Rica, Mexico before would have been another top class that you would have, in years past, you would have said, oh man, the Ticos that are, we've seen them go to World Cups and decently, and then of course the perennial top dogs, Mexico. It's like different Costa Rica squad right now. So really hope that it's still a tight game, but I could definitely see Mexico. That could be the first one we could see a blowout win. And
yeah, and that's just Mexico essentially. It's going to help them get their feet under them. So it's good timing that with Costa Rica be so down as they are. But even then, while they did look a little underwhelming against Jamaica, you got to worry, even if they can, to bring back, Lozano and everyone else like you mentioned. If it's a back-to-back underwhelming performance, then do you start questioning Mexico as well? How is Tata Martino really going to handle? So it should be an even, but there's going to be question marks if it isn't a win.
I mean, but that's the thing. Mexico lately, it's been a lot of questions so far. But I think this helps them a lot in all the summer that they've had to deal with losing the championships and everything else. It's Mexico got the big win and they're leading CONCACAF qualifying, right? So we'll see how the tables turn on Sunday when we get to those games that go on. And we are going to do a Ted Lasso review. I'm pretty much up with it. I know they have the next show. If it's not on Apple Plus already, it's on Apple Plus in the morning. So I'm ready. I've been enjoying that.
If I can get a chance to binge, I'll put it out there. Yes.
The great thing about Ted Lasso, it's like 30 minutes.
So
it's a 30-minute show. Yeah, it's a fun show to watch. They have enough of the soccer, enough of the comedy, and then some really great characters together. We're going to all have fun. Maybe we can get Rachel to watch it.
Maybe.
And we can all have a big review on this one. Because there's some girl stuff in there, too. It's a good show that has a lot of I just really enjoy it because it makes me laugh. So let's wrap it up here. US 0-0. You wanted to see more, but I think this is a good start. You didn't lose, like you said. And now you can move on to the Canada game. Let's see what happens. We'll have Rachel with us on Sunday for the review of U.S.-Canada. That game starts at 8 o'clock, should end about 10. So hopefully we'll be on here about 10:30 Eastern time. I know for Randy and Robert over there, it's 7:30 p.m. Eastern. They're going to
they're out on, well, I can't say they're entirely on the best coast because they're just adjacent to it, but still early enough for them.
See, Randy's talking about Ted Lasso becoming one of his favorite shows of all time, so we definitely
going on. It's odds-on favorite to win a lot of key awards coming up. If you're into that sort of...
Well, thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you to our wonderful live viewers. And hey, you know what, friends? That's why you have awesome they're watching. They are your biggest cheerleaders and sometimes give you the best motivation. So, Robert, Randy, Harry, thank you all for watching live, and anybody else that may have tuned during this. I mean, I don't really expect people to be watching at 1:30 Eastern time, but you can listen to us later, or you can watch us later on YouTube as well. You can watch us on YouTube. You can listen to us on anywhere that there are podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Overcast. We are on lastwordsoccer.com, net.com. You can find us on Twitter. Eric is Sportshead. I am at WTimSean. So and you can also go follow the wonderful Rachel Krieger at Rachel Krieger on Twitter. Or check out her stuff at The Equalizer and Last Word on Soccer. Wonderful writer of all of the three of us here. So until next time, make sure you check out Eric and Harry on the kickoff. Is it going to be Wednesdays for sure? Or are y'all still moving that around?
Wednesdays for sure. This week, though, had a little bit of scheduling, so it should be up tomorrow. Yeah. But Wednesdays, we're really locking.
Okay, so Wednesdays, if you want to, hopefully at some point, being able to watch live, and then you can also listen on the same place. So you go subscribe to that whole W2 network. You get the kickoff, you get Soccer the Match, you get video games to the max that I host as well. And you also get all the wonderful stuff, the entertainment stuff that the Mark Radlich team provides as as we're getting closer to that Shang-Chi movie being available for everyone, and they're of course going to have that review for you. So until next time, until Sunday, when we're talking about U.S. Canada, see you later, everybody.
Peace.
Bye.
It can happen so easily. You're out with your friends or coworkers, you're putting back a few drinks, a few becomes a few too many. It's time to go, and for a moment, you think of calling for a ride. Nah, you're a good driver. You live nearby, you can make it home okay. What are the odds you'll get pulled over? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? You lose your license, you lose your job, you total your car, you kill someone. It only takes one mistake to change your life, or someone else's, forever. Play it safe and plan ahead to get a ride. Drive sober or get pulled over.
You might have noticed a change in your neighborhood lately. Yep, Sprint stores are now T-Mobile stores. Now that Sprint is T-Mobile, you get more coverage, value, and benefits than ever before. We've invested billions to bring our 5G from big cities to small towns across America. And great coverage is just the start. From high-speed mobile hotspot data to weekly deals and giveaways, our customers get tons of great benefits. Head to your new T-Mobile store to learn more.
Qualifying service and capable device required. Coverage not available in some areas. Some uses may require certain plan or features. See T-Mobile.com.